Right. All right. Hey, welcome back to the Go for CEO channel. This is John the Bomb. Building others means business. And I love my acronyms. You're going to find out today a lady that is just killing it in the social media marketing space. At 17, this young gal has won an entrepreneurship award. So she's already blown it up, right? At 17, she goes to Indiana University, not only gets 1 degree, but gets 3 degrees, and just incredible mind. She did what you're supposed to do on social media, which is engage. She shared a comment on a post that I made. I liked it so much, I engaged back. And then I asked her, hey, would you mind being on the Go for CEO channel? She's like, what? Yeah, let's do it. So she's been awesome. I already just had a little bit of time off channel here. So excited to have Miss Macy Troyer from Goaldy. And we're going to explore that. So welcome to the channel, Macy.
Thank you so much, John. I'm so excited to be here and to have this conversation with you. So thank you for asking me to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you make a great impression. You've got such a professionalism, such a great view of kind of how you've mastered some things that you've done. I checked out the website and just seeing all the things that you do. It's really just top-notch stuff. So, let's get into the first impactful things, right? For when people are first viewing this, I want them to really know what Goldie's all about and what you're doing that's different in this space. So, take it away.
Well, thank you for asking. And I appreciate the compliment as well. I'm big on perception. So whether it's through social media or through our website, we make that first impression, which creates that perception around the brand and the kind of work that we do. So a little bit about Goldie. So we are a specialized social media agency. We work with all kinds of customers and all kinds of organizations that need to get their messaging out more effectively. And whether that's for hiring efforts to increase their sales, to improve their reputation, build trust in a new territory, open a new product, whatever it is, we work closely with all of our clients to make sure that the messaging gets out there so their prospects and current customers feel that trust with the customer. So that's what we're all about. We do content creation, we write all of the captions, we do all of the graphics, everything in between for social media marketing and management. So that is our core business. And then we have other services that support social media marketing, such as video editing, for example, and ghostwriting services for executives and CEOs who are wanting to step more into thought leadership on social media.
I love it. I love it. You said a great word there, right? Trust, and in this digital world, how are you building trust? So why don't we go a little bit deeper? I think our Go for CEO community would love to hear about that based on, from this presence, behind the screen per se, right? Putting copyright and content and video. What are some nuggets of secrets that maybe you could share with our audience of how you're building trust so fast?
Yes, this is an easy answer, John. It is have authenticity and be authentic. Everyone has their own story. Everyone has something unique and a unique gift to share to the world. And so when you're acting authentic, whether it's on behalf of a company or to build your own individual brand, people can see that and they're drawn to it. In a world that is so fast paced and sometimes it seems fake because everyone wants to be perfect and seem perfect online. When you show up authentically and embrace the imperfections, that's when people can feel like they trust you because you're acting as who you are. So that would be the biggest part for building your personal brand. When it comes to businesses building trust, communication is really big. So owning the wrongs that you've done, saying what prospects or customers can look forward to. So helping them understand what the company is going to bring to the table so that the prospect is able to forecast where the company is going to be. And also educating prospects and customers build trust because they see these brands and businesses as that thought leader or industry leader that they can trust because they're giving them tools and free information to better position that prospect or that customer than before. So communication and acting authentically, I would say, are the two parts of building trust on social media.
Nice, nice. Well, I would replay that. That was like a little mini master class there. So, Go for
Well, thank
CEO,
you.
we get these CEOs and founders, right, that truly kind of share this next 35, 45 minutes. So really listen in and be a part of this conversation and leave a comment right in the channel. So Macy, so you're talking about trust, talking about Goaldy, the brand, and what you've been able to do. And you've had, other businesses as well, as you were a 17-year-old entrepreneurship award winner. What brought that dynamic to you? And I know that we talked offline a little bit about mindset. Why don't we go into that space of just kind of what you've developed, as a young entrepreneur and what you've been able to do to season yourself throughout the process?
Sure. I think that's a great question. And I really believe this is applicable for anyone who is new into entrepreneurship. So the 1 to 3 year mark, or is even thinking about stepping into entrepreneurship. So I'll share a little bit about my perspective and what's helped me from a mindset perspective be more resilient in the space of entrepreneurship. I would say the biggest part is developing a positive story that I tell about myself, about who I am. So we all have these narratives in our head constantly, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And so we want to make sure that we're able to understand what those bad ones are and try to block them out as much as possible and start building that positive narrative about who we believe that we are, whether that's in our relationships, in business, because when you're able to narrate your own story and create your own story about yourself, that's positive, that builds your self-belief. And that is one core component in entrepreneurship is your self-belief. If you don't have any prospects or anyone that wants to work with you and you're 3 months in, if you don't believe in yourself, you're likely going to quit. Now, that's just one part. There's discipline, execution, goal setting. There are so many other facets to being a successful entrepreneur. But I would say being able to dictate and tailor your narrative to spark better self-belief is core in entrepreneurship.
Nice, nice. So, yeah, I mean, those are fundamentals that really you can take into any field, right? And as a, I talk about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship, right? I think when you're working for someone, it's kind of interesting, right? If you could own your own position and have those core beliefs that you just talked about, and that actually, leaps you into entrepreneurship as well. So, any
Yes.
feedback on that?
No, I absolutely believe it. Some people ask me, are entrepreneurs born or are they made? And I believe that they are made. Some people naturally are more entrepreneurial. When I was working for the company that I used to work for before I launched Goaldy, I didn't know if I would start my own business, but I always had small experiences from when I was younger of starting a business. So I made candles and would sell those, or made like bracelets in school, just like the little things that all led me up to this moment to where I am now. So it's like it was innate for me to become an entrepreneur. And so I think that even if your story is not like mine, if you have any interest in entrepreneurship, the only way to know if you would like it is just to try it. So if you're sitting at work and wanting to start your own business, I would encourage you to start it on the side, do a lot of market research and understand what are some current problems that you're passionate about solving. And is there a market for that? And what is the future for that? So for example, if you're wanting to start a newspaper company, that might not be the wisest decision only because of the trends and the historical facts about where newspaper is going. So just doing some research. And again, the only way to know if you'd like entrepreneurship is simply to try it. So I hope that answered your question, John.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, taking the step, right? I mean, I have an acronym. I'm an acronym guy. You'll get to learn AOA. So assess, organize, attack. Right. So that's it's one of my acronyms that I love. It reminded me while you were sharing that my middle one, who's 9 years old. I have three girls, and as a girl dad, you see kind of the differences, right? And you think, man, these all came from two same people. Like, how are they so different, right? So, but my oldest one is kind of entrepreneurial because she's helping mom with some things that she does, like on eBay stuff, and you can see she's well kind of leading like inside of it. But my middle one, she had a little car washing business she did in the neighborhood last year, and I should have framed it her first $20 bill that she got for washing a car. So she's very entrepreneurial. And then the 3-year-old, I think she's just the boss baby right now. So, so
That's awesome.
But it's awesome stuff. So yeah, look, Goldie has a presence, right? So we've talked about a little bit about marketing. Obviously, that's what you do in SEO. Your leadership style. You talked a little bit about mindset and everything that you do. Tell us a little bit about how you're scaling that. So, and it could be from employee scaling to just growing the brand. What are some things that you think about when you think about on a day-to-day basis? How do I get Goldie to that next level of scale?
Mhm. A big part for me, at least, we have clients all over the country, but I'm located here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And what I like to do is stay involved in my community to make sure that I have that positive reputation on behalf of me, and who I am and who I represent as a person, but also on behalf of Goldie. So I do attend a lot of in-person networking events, and I love to meet people. I'm an extrovert. So it's very easy for me to want to go out and about to either a co-working space or to Starbucks or just any sort of networking event to meet people. So that's one way that I'm focused on my sales efforts, is really being intentional about going out physically and meeting new people, and having those one-on-one coffee dates or being in a larger setting and meeting people. I also do a lot of digital connections. So like what I did with you, John, your post sparked some interest for me. And so I just reached out. I think it was a piece of encouragement that I commented. And so I do that a lot, even with digital interactions with people that are like-minded like me, or have maybe a similar business background to me, or someone I could even work with. So that's a little bit more strategic. If I see a potential business owner that fits my ideal persona, if I'm able to reach out and comment on their like LinkedIn post, for example, on behalf of me or Goldie. So I'm intentional about those touch points and keeping those very personalized. I'm sure you and I and anyone who's listening who has a LinkedIn has received those cold LinkedIn messages that you can tell they are very, it's just they typed in whatever it was and sent it out to 30 people on blast. There's nothing customized about it. And for me, I consider those like a sweaty hug. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel authentic. And it just wasn't the right timing because it wasn't meant for me. So it wasn't customized. And so that's one thing that I try not to do. And that's one thing that I don't do, is send out blast of cold direct messages on LinkedIn, for example. So when it comes to scaling the business for touch points, I've focused heavily on the in-person interactions and then also digital interactions, which is important to me as well because we're a social media marketing agency. So any kind of content I put out there or Goldie post is a reflection of who we are. And we're setting that example of a powerful social media agency and what anyone who wants to elevate their social media should be doing. They'll look at our content and want to follow that as well. So also when it comes to building our brand, any kind of video or post we put out there is also part of our strategy for growing.
Neat, neat. So, does it play into in your thought pattern, right? The type of client that maybe you're working with. Obviously, you are very concentrated on kind of what you present, right, for Goldie. But when you get different industries, depending on the industry that you're working with, do you dive deep into that for initial data points of how you approach it, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, so we have a pretty intensive onboarding process for all of our clients. Um, it dives into their sales strategy. Where are they now? Where are they trying to go? What are their long-term goals, their short-term goals? And sometimes our clients aren't sure how to answer those questions, or they'll say, wow, we haven't thought about this in a year. This, we'll have to get back with you on this. This is a pretty big question, but we need to sit down and talk about this with our team and develop a strategy around it. So then we'll come back to you. So with our intensive onboarding process, we learn about their current landscape, where they're trying to go, their competition, their big hopes and their dreams for hiring, scaling, selling, acquiring other companies, whatever their goals are. Then from there, we create messaging and start building those digital relationships and developing that voice for the customer. When you go on a company's LinkedIn, I like to think of it as you're stepping into their living room. So it has a certain look, a certain feel. It's a place where we hope people want to stay and read our content and watch our videos and apply for our jobs, we want to make it a really welcoming platform for them to want to stay. And so I'm able to do that by understanding our customer's story. We work really closely with our customers where they feel as if we're employees on their team. And I love that because I do feel like I'm so part of their team because we're heavily integrated in their week to week operations to understand what it is that they're hoping to achieve. So just understanding where the client is right now, where they're hoping to go, what kind of brand voice they have now, and what do they want to develop. And that's where we take the reins and build out that brand voice and tone for them on social media.
Hmm, that's interesting. I picked up on you like to be a part of the table, right? The people that are at the table working with that client. As a commercial lender on my entrepreneur side, I always share, three best people, and I'll include obviously the marketing and the SEO people and that branding side. But I always talk about from my perspective, right? A CPA, a lawyer, and a good commercial banker are kind of what helps you integrally inside, right? The opposite stuff really to grow. But nonetheless, I mean, it's really interesting that you've taken that approach to be able to be at the seat, at the table to work with your clients, and that's cool that they bring you in because entrepreneurship is not easy, right? What's the saying? It's if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go with a team, right? So having you part of the team in Goaldy is pretty awesome. So tell me a little bit about your background. Like you shared, you have an Egyptian background, right? Did anything play into your upbringing and stuff like that to be who you were as far as the entrepreneurial side, or if you want to share maybe some other aspects of that background?
Yes, well, thanks for asking. Talking about my family and my upbringing is something that brings me so much joy because I've been so blessed with an incredible family. Them encouraging me all throughout my life has really built that self-confidence that I have. I also was heavily involved in sports growing up. So high performance often, which helped me want to work hard as an adult and an entrepreneur because I always was used to performing or going to practices and working really hard. Again, like I've just always been a performer since I was younger. I would, dance, and I did Elvis impersonations for money at church. Like I just would do, anything and everything. The spotlight was often on me. And so I was used to having pressure on myself and wanting to be the very best. And so how do you be the best is that you work hard and try to outwork other people or outwork them either physically or smarter, coming up with better systems, the way of doing things, whether that's from like a business perspective or even like with sports, it's all physical. So I would say childhood wise, playing sports, performing often definitely helped me in entrepreneurship. And then also just having great parents that always encouraged me to work hard and to follow my dreams and, do something that would make a powerful and positive impact on the world. And whatever that looks like, try to go for that. I don't have other entrepreneurs in my family. A lot of them, I have a lot of physicians in my family or those that took the medical path. I never was very passionate about that. So I'm so grateful that I took the business route because that is 100,000% me. And this is where I'm truly thriving. In high school, I somewhat struggled with grades. I was an average student, but when I went to college and I used business school, I was making all A's, made the dean's list, very involved in college. And it's because a light bulb went off for me that I was doing something that's authentic and genuine to me and how I'm naturally wired. And so that really has led me to where I am today. And so after college, I worked for a commercial real estate company. And I like to say it was the best first job I ever had. The people that I worked with were so generous in helping me learn. There's a big learning curve in commercial real estate, just like any industry. But as someone who graduated from college and entered into the space of commercial real estate, I was learning a lot about brokerage, commercial real estate development, construction, property management, and focusing on telling that story through business development and social media marketing. So it was the best first job I ever had. I had local CEOs. I was living in South Bend, Northern Indiana at the time, asking me if I would either do consulting work for them in the social media space or come work for them. So I had a handful of leaders ask me if I would help them. And that's where my light bulb of entrepreneurship finally came on. And I thought, hey, I should start a business doing this. The data shows that I'm good at this. People are noticing it. My boss was happy with the work that I was doing. And so that's where the idea of Goaldy came from.
I love it.
Thank you.
A lot of times just, having that high vibration. My wife is going through, I don't know if you ever heard of Kathy Heller, but she's like Joe Dispenza, all these types of people,
Yes.
kind of high vibration mindset. I'm actually reading Joe Dispenza's book now.
Great.
And, it's really interesting, right? When you are vibrating at that level, it's like things just come, right? It starts to have that motion and emotion, then you attract other people that come to you, and it's almost effortlessly, right? And a lot of people, unfortunately, you always have to work hard, right? But you talked about working smart, right? And in an entrepreneur spirit, that working smart component can be the accelerator, that 10x motion that helps you, right? To grease the street there to go faster, right? So
Yes,
me,
absolutely. I love that you're reading Joe Dispenza. I listened to one of his podcasts a few months ago, but I think that this also just brings the idea of focusing on your strengths instead of trying to force something that you're naturally, you can naturally not be good at something and want to work towards that. But I do believe everyone has strengths and a gift that they're born with. And so trying to focus on those strengths, which is part of your alignment, I believe, and those vibrations where things are just very natural and easy. So I've had people say, you make it look so easy. And it's like, I make it look easy, but it's not easy, but it is me. And it's probably easier than if I were to do something that doesn't align with who I am and who I'm created to be.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, look, there's so many avenues we can go in that conversation, right?
Yes.
We've been in multiple industries, right? You find a place and go for CEO community, right? I mean, listen to what Macy's saying, right? The high vibration, the mindset, finding things in her family background. A lot of them are in the medical space, but she just didn't want to go that route, right? And I shared with you offline that at another Egyptian lady that I interviewed, and she, same thing. They were more like CPAs, all that stuff, and medical. And all of a sudden, she's in the jewelry business, right? Her mom's like, "What are you doing? You're gonna be in jewelry? What the heck's going on?" So, but she had a passion for it, and it's so cool to see. So help me understand. Obviously, as this journey goes with Goldie, what are some of the next 6, 12, 18 months so we can get a perspective? And on the Go for CEO channel, we'd love to have you back on. Just have maybe a 15, 20-minute catch-up interview is what we call it, and just kind of see where you're at, what's going on. But tell us today, over the next 6 to 12 months, what are you expecting for Goldie and what you're doing?
Yes. Well, thanks for asking. We're expecting big, great things, of course. So with Goaldy, what we're going to be doing within the next 6 to 12 months is hosting more live events. So oftentimes I have companies or organizations that will bring me in to do trainings for their employees or certain teams if they're on a board, for example, and do like a social media personal branding training. So I'm going to be hosting those trainings live starting in Indianapolis. And then depending on the momentum of those, I might be traveling a bit, hosting live events if there's more of a demand. So teaching more people how they can build their personal brand to achieve whatever objective they have. And if it's from a business owner's perspective, how they can use their team and their prospects or their customers to really build that momentum through social media. So we'll be doing live trainings. I'm also developing an online course. So that hopefully will come out within the next 12 months. It's a pretty intensive process. And then I'm also writing a book right now as well. I know that's something a little bit more personal, but I do have a heart for entrepreneurs. With Goaldy, we have a social corporate responsibility. So we'll be offering 2 scholarships to aspiring entrepreneurs here in the US. They'll go through an interview process and an application that they have to fill out. And then we will interview them and qualify these candidates and see if they have a business plan together and then offer these scholarships. With that, I do have a book coming out. It's called Ready, Mindset, Go. It's all about helping an aspiring entrepreneur understand what entrepreneurship really looks like. I always thought entrepreneurship was eating ramen noodles in Silicon Valley with a bunch of roommates. At least that's what my college professors told me. And my journey of entrepreneurship has been nothing like that. And so the book is all about that. So the other component within the next 6 to 12 months is that corporate social responsibility aspect. We're also being a little bit more hands-on with clients, so traveling to them, doing video content for them. So we'll go to their facility and videotape interviews or do like a site visit. We'll come up with different Reels ideas or YouTube videos ideas, and then edit those videos for them as well. And then continuing what we're doing which is the social media marketing and management. We do a lot of consulting work for various kinds of companies here in the US. So continuing doing what we're doing, only a bit more elevated, and offering those services to support social media as social media grows beyond just static imagery.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, interaction. It's really cool to hear that you're doing live events, right? Post COVID, and I think a lot of people are really, breaking out of the scenes. Like, get me out of this.
Totally.
I want to be, out and touch people. At least, I don't know that it's only extroverts. I think it's introverts, extroverts, all types of people. I see so many people at the restaurants nowadays and interacting. My buddy does a dinner club. We're actually doing an event together at Michael Jordan's house. So I think it's
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. So Michael Jordan hasn't been able to sell his mansion for a decade or so, but he's got an event happening in June, and it'll be pretty cool. So I'll have to give you some info on it.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, but awesome. So look, as we wind down the interview here, at the Go for CEO channel, we talk about CEO, right? So client experience, and then engagement. I used to call it employee engagement, but really just engagement in general, from your vendors to your employees to your, people that your clients, all that type of stuff, and then operational excellence. So if you take us kind of at a 60-second high level value proposition mindset, what do you think is the differentiator for Goaldy with client experience?
Yep. So we are very customized, as I've mentioned before. So we understand where our customer is and where they're trying to go. We're not just an agency that talks to our customers, once every other month or once a month. We're very involved with them on purpose. And that's why our specialty is social media, because it's very demanding to make sure that we are doing our job correctly, speaking on behalf of the brand. So we are great communicators with our clients. We take a lot of pride and care in their messaging and where they're trying to go. And again, we integrate very closely with them almost as an employee of their team. So I would say that's one of the biggest parts of the customer experience.
Awesome, awesome. And then engagement. I mean, you've shared so many neat things, right? From your mindset to your family background to the way that you deal with clients. But, what's a little, I guess, secret sauce that your engagement of people, why do they engage with you? And you kind of gave, you almost answer like with the LinkedIn, what you did with me, right? You engage
Yes.
in such an authentic way, but high level, any other 60-second feedback on that?
Yeah. And I hope people, use that and implement that with their own strategy if it makes sense for them. Another thing that I like to do is just make sure that when I am connecting with people, I'm asking them how I can serve them as well. So instead of when I comment, I'm not necessarily taking, but I want to make sure that I'm giving to them as well. So even when I talk with a prospect and maybe it's not a fit, it's, well, how can I support you in other ways? Who can I connect you with? So always leading with that servant's heart. It's a great way that I'm able to push past the bad days in entrepreneurship when I know what my purpose is, and wanting to genuinely serve people makes those days easier. And then it's just less selfish and focused on me when I'm able to ask them how I can help them. So that's another engagement tactic that I have.
Well, that's encouraging, right? I mean, it's something that we could all do better. Obviously, business has to happen, money has to transact to be able to make a living and prosper, right? But when you have that initial, I've always believed in networking, right? I know it's big, it's kind of a cliche nowadays because it's used so much, but your network is your net worth type of
Yep.
thing, right? But when you've invested in your network, that's why your net worth grows, right? So
Yes.
when you've been able to invest first. So Awesome, awesome. So last one is operational excellence. We didn't touch too much on it from Goldie's perspective, but what is kind of the value proposition when you think about operational excellence and how you kind of conduct your business from a day-to-day perspective, or even systems that you use, those types of things?
Yep. Systems are so incredibly important. So I work on a business operating system and a project management system. So I use a business operating system. It's called 90. So this is where we log our meetings, our processes for onboarding, for the day-to-day operations. This is where we assign specific numbers to team members to make sure that they're hitting their metrics. And then I also use Monday.com to keep things organized internally, at least with our team. We also use Asana as well from like a workflow perspective. And then, Google Docs is what we use for our clients, making sure that they have everything that they need to upload content to us if we're not there filming. So we use a variety of different softwares. What I would say has been really important from a social media marketing company is making sure that you have all of the steps laid out for your team internally to know what to do, how to engage, how to speak on behalf of the brand, because there are so many steps and opportunities that we have for our clients. So making sure that it's laid out very nicely for them and for the clients to over communicating on what they can expect at our calls that we have with them, what they can expect via email, what they can expect on a month-to-month basis with our reports that they give us. So just over communicating that so they don't have any doubts or wonders about what we're doing.
Operations is one of those things that sometimes, you bring in a client, you sell them, right? There's an opportunity to engage, they become a client of yours, but if you're not operating right, it could all fall apart. So I love to hear that you have literally steps, SOPs, you understand kind of the process of how you do business and what Goldie's differentiating mark is in that space. So awesome stuff, Macy. So let's let everybody know, right? I mean, where can we get a hold of you? How can they interact? By the way, Go for CEO channel, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Leave a comment for Macy as we post on YouTube, and it'll be on audio with Spotify and all those channels. It'll be on LinkedIn, all that good stuff. But what is ways that they can get a hold of you, from your direct email to whatever you feel comfortable that people can get a hold of you?
Yes, I would love to hear from anyone who's listening. You can contact me via email. It's macy@itsgoaldy.com. That's macy@itsgoaldy.com. You can also add me on LinkedIn. I'm constantly on LinkedIn, as you can tell, John. So I'd be happy to hear from you on LinkedIn. I also have Instagram, which is Macy_Troyer. And then Goaldy, of course, has social media, and our handle is It's Goaldy. So would love to hear from any of you through social media or my email.
My limited marketing mind, when I hear it's gold, it's like you're sprinkling gold, right? That's what
Yes,
right? Well,
I
use
love
that.
that.
It's a little added value that I gave you.
Well, thank you. I like that. I think everyone has their own idea of what like gold and Goldie looks like. So that's a great picture that you have.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to actually redo some of the. Actually, it's funny. I was at church with my daughters and my wife at Easter, and the priest put up kind of like he was just doing this, right? I was like that because I have a logo, but it says Go for CEO, right? And I thought I was nice, but then I was like, I've always wanted something like Nike, like a little swoosh, Adidas.
Mhm.
Like every time you see Nike or Adidas or whatever, Jumpman, right, Jordan. But anyway, when he put it up like that, I was like, oh, that's like a G, and then an O, and then four, right? So
So cool.
so I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, wow, I just got inspired, and that's one of the things with high vibration, right? With what my wife's learning with Kathy, and I'm reading from Joe, is like all of a sudden you just get these little whispers of ideas, and you're like, wow, that's why I said that Goldie. I don't know, came
Yes. Man, I
to.
love that. I would love to see that as your logo. That is such a fantastic idea.
Because I'm a big, like you said, like I'm very solid colors. Like I like
Sure.
just like one little logo, right? Like something that pops on the shoulder or something like that. So anyway, so cool stuff. I thought it'd be appropriate for the conversation, ladies and
Absolutely.
gentlemen. I love that Macy, came on. She was willing to just, share her knowledge, right? And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe again. I try to say that as much as I can. We're trying to build this channel and have great CEOs, entrepreneurs like Macy be a part of the community. So thank you so much, Macy. I really appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor. And I hope that all of the listeners have, some new value and insight from listening to this. So thanks again, John.
Awesome. We'll talk soon.